Every story has a secret. Some should have stayed buried. The truth hides in the dark, and once you hear it, you can't unhear it. This is Midnight Hour Files, hosted by Dee Dee. Welcome to the Midnight Hour.
The BTK Killer. A monster, hiding in plain sight. Most people think they would recognize a killer if they saw one. Someone dangerous, someone different. But what if the most terrifying person you could imagine looked exactly like everyone else? Today's case is about a man who lived a normal life for over 30 years while hiding one of the darkest secrets imaginable. His name was Dennis Rader, and he called himself BTK, which stood for Bind, Torture, Kill. Before we get into this case, if you're into true crime stories like this, make sure you follow and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes, and check the links in my bio if you'd like to support the podcast. This story begins in Wichita, Kansas, in 1974. On January 15th, the Otero family was at home. It was a normal day, a quiet neighborhood. Nothing seemed out of place. But inside their home, a man was waiting. Dennis Rader had been stalking the family, watching them, learning their routines. When he finally made his move, he broke into the house armed and prepared. Inside were Joseph Otero, his wife Julie, and two of their children. Rader tied them up one by one. He had planned everything. He had fantasies about this moment long before it happened. And then, one by one, he murdered them. It was brutal, calculated, and it marked the beginning of a nightmare that would haunt Wichita for decades. But what made this case even more disturbing was what happened next. Rader didn't just want to kill. He wanted recognition. Months after the murders, a letter was discovered hidden inside a library book. In it, the killer described the crime in detail and gave himself a name. BTK. Bind, torture, kill. He wanted the public to know he existed. Quick pause. If you like unique treats and handmade products, I run a small business called Main Street Treats 808HI. Check out the link in my description. Over the next several years, more victims followed. In 1977, he murdered Shirley Vian. Later that same year, Nancy Fox. Each time, he communicated with the media or police. He sent letters, left clues, he wanted attention, he wanted control. But then, suddenly, everything stopped. No more murders, no more letters. Years passed, then decades. Many people believed BTK was gone. Maybe he died, maybe he moved away. But the truth was much more unsettling. He never left. Dennis Rader was still living in Wichita. He got married, he had children, he worked a steady job. He became a compliance officer, someone responsible for enforcing rules in his community. He was also deeply involved in his church, eventually becoming a leader. To everyone around him, he was normal, responsible, trustworthy. No one suspected that the man they saw every day had once terrorized their entire city, and for decades, he got away with it. But in 2004, something changed. After years of silence, BTK resurfaced. He sent another message to the media, reminding them that he was still out there. He included details that only the killer would know. Once again, fear spread across Wichita. But this time, things were different. Technology had advanced. Investigative techniques had improved. DNA testing was far more sophisticated. Still, Rader believed he was in control. He continued sending messages, almost as if he was playing a game with law enforcement. And then, he made a mistake. A simple question that would ultimately lead to his capture. He asked police if a floppy disk could be traced. Authorities responded publicly, saying it would be safe, but that wasn't true. It was a strategy. Rader believed them. He sent a floppy disk to a local TV station, thinking he was still one step ahead. But when investigators analyzed the disk, they found hidden data, metadata, information that most people wouldn't even think about. That data pointed to a church. And from there, it led to a username, Dennis. From that moment, everything started to fall into place. Police began surveillance. They gathered DNA evidence discreetly and compared it to samples from crime scenes. It matched. After more than 30 years, the man known as BTK had finally been identified. On February 25, 2005, Dennis Rader was arrested. When news broke, it shocked everyone. Neighbors, friends, his own family. How could someone who seemed so normal be responsible for something so horrific? During his confession, Rader spoke calmly about his crimes. There was no panic, no visible remorse. He described each murder in detail, as if he were recalling something ordinary. In total, he confessed to 10 murders, 10 lives taken by someone who had managed to blend into society for decades. Later that year, he was sentenced to 10 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. And just like that, the man who had once terrorized an entire city would spend the rest of his life behind bars. But this case leaves behind a question that still lingers. How well do we really know the people around us? Because Dennis Rader wasn't hiding in isolation. He wasn't living off the grid. He was part of a community. He had a family. He had responsibilities. And yet, he was living a completely different life behind closed doors. That duality is what makes this case so unsettling. It challenges the idea that evil is easy to recognize, because sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it looks like the person next door. If you found this story interesting, make sure to follow and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. And check the links in my bio if you'd like to support the podcast and help me continue bringing you more true crime stories like this. And until next time, stay aware.
Some truths never rest, and some stories are never over. This has been Midnight Hour Files. Sleep carefully.